Let's now look at the property that was protected by the Central Virginia Battlefields Trust, recently purchased. From this 2008 satellite imagery on Google Earth, we can see where the property owner at the time had sold off the woods and sort of restored it to its 1864 appearance. Surrounded by trees here on the top of the land, which I was able to persuade the lumber company to leave alone. We have the site of the Myer house and some of the outbuildings and some breastworks that did surround the crown of the hill. We have just off of the property the little stream that flows into the Nye River that created the swamp area due to all the rainfall. With 91st Pennsylvania and 140th New York passed through that area, sat in the woods until emerging in the early morning to descend upon the Confederates, attacking in skirmish formation. These areas where the trees flow into the property, these were resource protection areas, so they were also saved. Unfortunately, there was a small defensive position that had later been built by the Federals to guard the approach from the west that may be severely damaged. We don't know now, unfortunately, because there's a lot of debris and new tree growth in that area. To the west of the CVBT property, on the other side of this large power line, there was a Confederate trench that had sat on the edge of the period tree line. Unfortunately, this area has recently been developed, or is beginning to be developed, by a home builder who's going to extend this subdivision. I believe, I don't know 100% for sure, but from what I was able to see from my car on Plantation Forest Drive, that this whole area has been cleared, and thus the original trench that remained is wiped out. Trees have been removed very heavily all the way through this area. I'm going to note here that I've got outlined in yellow. These are Civil War era roads that flowed in. This is known as the Anderson Road. This led up to the Anderson Farm, which was up on the plateau here. Some slight remains of the Anderson Road do remain in existence, although badly damaged by earth-moving equipment when Spotsylvania County was doing some modifications to their sewer system. So that's a cultural resource sadly gone as well. But this network of roads, this here had John Henry Myer and his family approached from Fredericksburg. They would have taken this road and this branch here, which brought them up. And this is also where Union Army anchored their right. 121st New York were sort of at the crown of the hill, holding the center of their line. And 95th and 96th Pennsylvania extended down here. At the site of a modern house is where this little dog leg, the extreme right, was able to secure the rise in land. The land drops off. Approximately here is where McGregor's battery returned around 4 o'clock on May 14th and began to pour canister shot into the Myer house when General Meade swiftly exited. Neighboring properties here off to the west have Also some historical resources, cultural resources, trench lines. Let's advance forward here on the Google Earth, and you can see the beginnings of that area being cleared. And now in 2017, showing the advance of subdivisions, single-family homes all over here. But that story for another day, another time. But thankfully, after having been the primary advocate for the preservation of this Myer property, after 20 years, it's now being preserved. We see again in the 2017 satellite photography that the ground is, and 10 years since being denuded, now grown back in, a very tightly woven secondary growth.